It's a massive week in the Whirlpool and a big afternoon on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival. And the first race we're going to look at is a flying 1,000 metre handicap. And it's going to be quick and fast to open proceedings at Goodwood on the opening day. And just the straightforward, straight track to enjoy. Horses going up to the incline at the end of this 1,000 metre contest. And it's like to be fast and furious. And these are the declarations for the opening race. 15 going to post. Some familiar names in there. Clarendon House, Rarsell, Acklam Express, the likes of Dream Composer further down, Bedford Flyer, Mountain Peak, Designer, Novello, of course, winner last time, Lihu and Lord Ridderford amongst the 15. Right, let's have a look at our first visual clue then. And this is going to be a pretty pertinent one as well, Graham, because plenty in this are taking part once again.
Eyes all over the place here, Tom, because this was a chaotic race. Various stalls opened late, one stall opened slightly early. Quite a few horses didn't get a chance to show what they could do. One horse who did, John, was Novello. He got a completely smooth passage through the race, and he recorded the latest in a pretty long sequence of good efforts.
Yeah, he's going well. I mean, the ground's crucial to him because his soft ground form's not very good, but it is getting better all the time at Goodwood at the moment, so I think he's going to be there or thereabouts. Clarendon House has run a really good race too. He's been up in more rarefied company subsequently. I think back in handicap company this time round. He'll go well too.
Back in the pack, it's happened already in the turquoise colours. Alligator Alley endured a torrid passage, and he's shown himself much better than that form since, as have the likes of Vintage Clarets, whose stall opened late. He's won a couple since, so that is not necessarily a literal form guide, Tom.
OK, lovely stuff. And John, another pretty pertinent form line is what happened at Goodwood last year in the Group 2 race a little bit later in the week that featured, among others, Rarsell.
Yeah, he's got a really good record here at Goodwood. He's 2 from 3, and as you rightly say, this was in the group race, the King George Qatar sprint over the 5 furlongs. He comes from quite a long way off the pace here as well, which is not always an ideal running style at Goodwood, but it seems to work for him. Any dig in the ground's not a problem either, owned by the horse watchers who know what they're doing, and interesting that they've decided to go in the handicap this week instead of this race again. He's got a big chance.
He's come down in the weights, John. He's been a peak of 108. He's now down to 101, and he's in good nick because on his last couple of runs, he ran very well in a group race at Sandown, and he got a pretty choppy run in cheap pieces last time at Ascot. I think he's better than he showed that day. And look at this form. Cardem, the winner, has won a Group 1 since. All sorts of smart sprinters here. If Rarsell is within 4 or 5 pounds of this form on Tuesday, he's going to be a big runner.
Yeah, a few pertinent form lines to enjoy there. Right, without much further ado, chaps, should we get your 1, 2, 3, 4 for the first race?
Yeah, well, the first point to make, Tom, is, John, I'm very disappointed that you didn't get the spotted tie memo. Me and Tom both have the same tie. I've been down Alligator Alley to my cost a few times. I'm going down again. It's a long while since he ran at Goodwood. As a 2-year-old, he ran a screamer, and he ran very well on the pace at Doncaster last time. 9, Alligator Alley, 2, Rarsell, obvious claim, 6, Vintage Claret, super consistent, and 7, Bedford Flyer, who's never been to Goodwood, but it should suit him.
And John, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Rarsell here for the reasons that we just illustrated there. Vintage Clouds, I think, will go, or Vintage Clarets, I should say, should go very well as well. Doesn't mind a bit of dig in the ground. Novello, I think the ground is hopefully going to be OK for him. And Clarendon House, I say, back in handicap company, should go well as well. So 2, 6, 12 and 1 for me.
Lovely stuff. I'm going to go for Dream Composer. Hopefully put that run behind him last time where he started a little bit too slowly. Best of luck with whatever you're going for in the opening race. Race 2 on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival is a maiden over 1,200 metres. Let's have a look and see at the course map for this one. 200 metres further than the first contest on the card. Again, over that straight and slight incline towards the finish. 14 going to post for this. Among them, Array for Asheen Murphy, Dark Dreamer, Dorney Lake on debut for Stellandia, had a few starts already under his belt. And down the bottom, Union Island for Charlie Johnston and William Buick. Let's have a look at some visual clues for this one then, starting, Graham, with Array, who's got to be a pretty big player for this.
Huge player. Lots of pluses, not least a pedigree by None Never from the family of Frankel. Well fancied at Newbury. He was out on the wing, travelling keenly, John, but he kept on pretty well. The winner, Starlust, was a previous winner, and recent form boost Klaxon. The third horse, Indian Run, won a
Yes.
valuable maiden race at Ascot yesterday, so plenty of reasons to believe we should keep a close eye on Array.
Yeah, definitely one for World Pool fans. Beautifully bred. The mare of this horse, Joyeuse, is a prolific producer of winners at a high level. Good gate speed, effortless gate speed on debut. I think that will help at Goodwood, where you don't need to be too far back over that 6 furlongs, and it's going to be tough to beat. So any of the newcomers would have to be very good to lower this one's colours.
Yeah, it's nearly always falls to a horse who's well bred, who's had 1, maximum 2 races this race.
Well, one horse has plenty of experience already under his belt is Fustalandia. He's been second a couple of times already. Definitely knows how to finish second, but not quite how to win yet, Graham.
Yeah, 4 Hannon runs, has yielded a mark of 81, and this Nottingham run was 5 furlongs, John. Every chance. Now joined Dominic French-Davis, now has blinkers for the first time, now has the 1 gate. There could be a more progressive horse in the lineup than this one, do you reckon?
I think so, but I think he'll go quite well because obviously the stable change angle. I think the step up in triple helped. That bad run at Royal Ascot was due to a bad start. So he's pretty consistent. He's probably consistently not quite good enough to win this race, but I think he's got to go in the numbers for me. Blinkers on for the first time.
Yeah, very consistent horse and about to finish second once again. A horse who's got to have a pretty good chance, you'd think, if continuing his consistent profile that he's produced so far for Dominic French-Davis. Kevin Stott in the Amma Racing colours. And one final visual clue we're going to look at is Mansa Musa, who finished 6th on debut here, Graham. Vincent Ho was going to ride.
Tom, yes, I wanted to put this in for more than one reason. First of all, it was a Vincent Ho booking. Vincent sadly sustained an injury in Japan. He won't be coming to the UK this summer. But Mansa Musa showed plenty of speed here. I think he was a bit too keen too early, John, and he used up his energy in the first 2/3 of the race. There were very, very able horses in and around him here. He's trained by a young, up-and-coming breeze-up guy, ready-to-run guy, Diego Diaz. Only had 1 winner so far, but that winner was well backed at a big, big price, and I suspect Mansa Musa has a fair bit to give here.
Well, tongue tie on for the first time as well might elicit a bit more improvement. So yeah, legitimate chance in a race, which is a bit of a head scratcher, and if you're keen, I wouldn't necessarily put you off.
Also part owned by Alex Frost, one of the key players in the Tote and the World Pool organisation. So you sense there's a mini plan stroke plot being hatched here.
Yeah, it could well be. A very difficult one to work out, but Graham, your selections are?
Hard to go against Array here, Tom. I think he's got the pedigree and the form in the book to go really well. 11, Mansa Musa at a bigger price. 7, Darroch, who shaped nicely first time at Salisbury. And 9, Fustalandia to go well again.
And John, yourself?
Yeah, Array on top for me. I like Fustalandia for all the reasons given when we watched the VT. Dorney Lake cost a few quid. Godolphin Blue for John and Thady Gosden. That's interesting on debut. And having a great time, I thought ran pretty well at Windsor. And again, might not be up to winning a normal renewal of this, but could go quite well for exotic players.
Excellent stuff. I'm going to go with Union Island for Charlie Johnston. Hopefully he can build on that fine second first time up. He's well regarded as well. That's the second race on the card. Race 3 on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival is the Chesterfield Cup, a handicap over 2,000 metres. Let's have a look at the course map. Well, it's slightly different to the first 2 races on the card, as they're going to take the bend for the first time and up that steep hill once again to the finish for this 2,000 metre contest. 16 declared runners for this. At the top, Cadillac, Pride of America, Ancient Rome, Imperial Fighter, Soto Sizzler, Keys Chorister, Lord Protector and Haunted Dream. And the next page, Miller-Bosch, Outbreak, Eagles Way, Paradius, Kitsune Power, Mahaba the Champ, Moktasab and Satono Japan. So really competitive race for this one. Let's have a look at our first visual clue then. And that involves Pride of America. Last time out, Graham, this is a very competitive handicap, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 to keep an eye on here. Pride of America on the front end, really game, classy win. 3rd, Haunted Dream, the latest in a long sequence of good efforts from him. Slightly squeezed late on. And way back in the field, certainly from halfway, Miel Bosque, former 3rd in the French Derby, first run for William Haggis. I think he might be of a tricky customer, but he runs on well, never gets to the leaders. To my mind, John, Pride of America is a smashing horse, but this was just about the best he can do, and a slight rise in the weights and company on the front end could make him vulnerable. Of the trio, I like Haunted Dream.
I like Pride of America to confirm this. Yes, he's gone up 4 pounds in the ratings, which is, you would have thought, a problem. But as you mentioned before, this was a strongly run race throughout. He was on the sharp end. The other 2 got into the race a little bit later on. Amy Murphy, very good trainer, takes plenty of initiative with the way she runs her horses over both codes. Freddie Larson gets on well. And stall 14 is interesting as well. You'd have thought racing common sense tells you that you need an inside draw for this, but actually outside draws have gone quite well. So Pride of America, if he can get to the front early, or thereabouts, I think he'll go very well.
You'll have company on the front end. This promises to be pretty fiery from early on.
OK, excellent stuff. Haunted Dream was in that race at York. He's also in the next visual clue we're going to take a look at here, Graham, and that was at Sandown last time. Lord Protector winning quite impressively, I thought, in the end.
Valuable clue, this. Lord Protector, who ran really well in this race from a very high draw 12 months ago for 5th. He gets the saloon passage here, takes advantage of it. Haunted Dream runs another excellent race, coming on strong for 2nd. We've also got Paradias, who was a bit too keen for his own good, John. He's better than that. And Moktasab, who's an old villain of mine. I can't get him right. He's back in 11th. Which of this quartet would you fancy?
Well, both Lord Protector and Paradias go in for me. Paradias not only pulled hard, he went via Isha Station round the bend, so he's given away loads of ground here. He's not got a great draw again, but I think he'll go better than the form suggests here. Lord Protector from stall 5 will probably run a good race. I've got Moktasab in. He comes with a government health warning, this horse, but he does have a good record at Goodwood. He can't deny that.
Ran well in this race last year too.
Yeah, really competitive race. And with that in mind, gents, get your 1, 2, 3, 4, starting with you, Graham.
Right, I'm going to go 5, 8, 11, 12. A few of the horses we've mentioned and one we haven't. I sense there might just be a more family plot in Soto Sizzler here. He's only had a couple of runs since he joined Gary Moore. Son Ryan has been booked for the ride. When Ryan's been aboard this horse, his form figures are 5, 1, 1, 2. He's back from a break after running really well at Epsom. He might be a price. Ryan Moore in the Whirlpool doesn't normally equate to great value, but keep an eye on Soto Sizzler here.
And for you, John?
Yeah, I like Pride of America on top, Paradias as well, Lord Protector and Moktasab. That's going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4 for me.
Lovely stuff. I'm going to go with Haunted Dream. Hopefully he can get his head in front this time. He certainly deserves to in race 3. The 4th race on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival is the first group race of the afternoon, and a really competitive one as well, over the 1,400 metre trip. Let's have a look at the course map for this one, and it's the first race over 1,400 metres of the week. Runners taking the camber around the bend and to the uphill finish once again for the 1,400 metre start. Race 4 and 9 declare runners going to post for this one. Golden Mind, Hartem, Iberian Mountain Bear, Soldier's Gold, Sun, Spanish Phoenix, Thunder Blue and Witness Stand. Right, visual clue is going to start with Iberian, the once racehorse. He was pretty impressive, Graham, on debut.
He was. 6.5 furlongs. Points to make, important points to make. The 2nd and the 3rd from this race haven't really polished the form to any great degree, but he travels nicely, John. He settles things very decisively, and this is a Group 2 race, but Angel Blur, Pinatubo, Expert Eye, Galileo Gold, Highland Reel, Tourmore, Extension, Shamadal. I don't think there are too many superstars in this lineup, so an unexposed horse with potential for plenty of improvement has to warrant a mention here.
Yep, and has plenty of the skills required at Goodwood. Stall 9's a little bit tricky. He's going to get out quite nicely. What does he do from there in terms of tactics, William Buick? But it was a good run here. I think he's a little bit skinny in the markets here in the UK. We'll see what he does in the Whirlpool.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with that, I have to say, by Iberian. One horse with a lot more experience than Iberian is Thunder Blue here, Graham. He's already had 4 starts.
Yeah, we have to set all these things in context. This is a Group 2 that's perhaps more winnable than many of us expected, and therefore 2 horses to keep an eye on here, in the shape of Thunder Blue and Mountain Bear. Mountain Bear in the dark blue Magna colours was a bit keener than ideal, but he didn't go like a star colt. As for Thunder Blue, John, he's got plenty of ability, he's also got plenty of experience, but he's also got a fast pedigree. He wasn't good enough over 6 here. Previously, he'd run in the Norfolk. He now steps up to 7. Will he get the trip?
I'm not too sure. He showed lots of pace in the Norfolk as well over the 5 furlongs, 1,000 metres. So I think he might be the sort of ideal target horse for 1 or 2 that do have a bit more stamina to sort of aim at. So for me, I'm slightly sceptical. It's interesting they've gone from 5 to 6 to 7 without any intervening period. So they've decided to try something new with the trip.
Indeed, one of the most vital form clues for this, though, might be at Newmarket last time out for Hartem. And Graham, I thought this was a really good performance behind a pretty impressive winner.
I think Hartem's got just about the best form in the race. I think we're all agreed that the winner of this race, City of Troy, is a Group 1 colt. Group 1 winner, potential classic winner, waiting to happen. He was utterly dominant on the day, but there are useful horses in behind here, John, and Hartem beats the rest of them, and he beats them good looking. If he replicates this form, or his Coventry Stakes performance, he's a big, big runner.
I think he is. I think he'll win the race. I mean, City of Troy is the 2,000 guineas anti-post favourite for next year already. Hartem ran a pretty good race considering that. You talk about the Coventry Stakes. Go back further and the percentage of rivals beaten metric is very good as well. He's beaten some big fields or run well in some big fields. So I think on official ratings as well, he's the best in the race. He's going to take some beating. OK, selection time for the first group race of the week. Graham, start with you.
Yeah, Hartem, keep it simple here. He's got the experience. He's got the best form in the race. He's the one for me. Golden Mind ran really well at Royal Ascot. He should definitely be in the mix here. 3 Iberian has potential, and 5 Soldier's Gold is on the upgrade.
And John?
Very similar numbers for me. Heart M on top, the 2. Golden Mind in for second for the reasons that Graham gave. Soldier's Gold in for third, the 5, and Iberian from that slightly tricky 9 stall to finish in 4th.
I'm going to go with Iberian. Blew me away a bit on debut, I have to say. Hopefully he can take the rise in grade in his stride in the first group race of the afternoon. The second group race of the afternoon is race 5 on the card, and it's for older horses, again, over the 1,400-metre trip. Let's have a look and see what the course map looks like for this. Again, like our previous race, runners going around the bend, down the decline, and then up the incline to the winning post at the end of that 1,400-metre start. Right, 9 going to post for this. Al Suhail, Audience, Jumbie, Kinross, Pogo, Holguin, Indestructible, Isaac Shelby, and Marbarn completing the field. OK, we can start by looking at one of the big form players for this, the valiant stalwart, Graham, that is the marvellous Kinross.
Yeah, Kinross has a tremendous record in this race. He won it 2 years ago. John, talk to me about this race last year when pretty much everything went his way. He didn't quite win.
He didn't quite win, no, but he's got a very good draw again here today in stall 1. As you say, he's won the race 2 years ago. He's been nicely prepped for this. I'm pretty sure that's been in the back of their mind for a while. Third run up third run up for the season, and I think he'll go very well indeed from that really advantageous draw. So there's a lot to like about this horse. Frankie Dettori maybe for an emotional success in the Lennox.
He needs a good gallop as well. He's going to get it here because we've got Audience, Indestructible, Pogo, all go forward. So he gets his ideal setup, and you could easily see him squirting up the inside again, but this time getting up late. We can see Kinross again in Group 1 company, 6 furlongs at Newmarket a couple of weeks ago. The rampantly progressive Shaquille just proves too strong for everything. But you can see Kinross travelling keenly just behind the winner there. He runs on. He doesn't run to his very best mark, but he's not far below it here. And I would contend, John, that this year's Lennox Stakes is not quite as strong as the last 2 renewals.
No, and I think 7 furlongs is his best trip. He ran a really good race, considering where he was in the Jubilee Stakes at Royal Ascot on seasonal reappearance this year as well. So I think the step up to 7 is ideal. And as I say, as we've mentioned, he's got a beautiful draw.
Potential trouble in running is a slight concern, but we can't be sure about that. He's got the inside gate, he's got the form, the Goodwood form that stands him in really good stead.
Yes, indeed. One of the main players against him, though, Graham, could be Audience. I was quite taken by this victory last time out.
I wasn't. I think
really?
He's an absolute snake, this horse. I really do. Let's have a look at him. He was gelded. He came back from a break after being gelded at Leicester with a really good handicap performance. He's obviously got plenty of class, John, but the moment he hit the front, he went sideways. Look at him here. He gets pretty much a solo in a small group on the far side. Robert Hadlin rides this horse, and he rides it with finesse. Look at his ears, look at his body language, and look at the way he goes sideways when things get... They don't get tough. He's doing it easily, but he still goes sideways. Look on the near side. Pogo and Jumbie, all rivals. Pogo runs well with a £3 penalty. Do you trust that horse to run in a straight line at Goodwood? Because I don't.
Not necessarily. From a timing perspective, from a sectional perspective, it was a pretty good performance. He didn't get sort of hustled and harried out in front, but I still think it was a pretty decent effort. He sneaks in for me, but he wouldn't be.
He snakes in. He's got snake-like tendencies.
Excellent. Well, there we go.
There you go. Hopefully one horse with that snake-like tendencies is Isaac Shelby, who won one of the big Guineas trials a little bit earlier in the campaign, Graham.
Yeah. The weather has been changeable at Goodwood. I think we're bound to start on at least good to soft. If we started on soft, it would be so much the better for Isaac Shelby, who came back from his winter break with a really good performance. The loose horse is the subsequent 2000 Guineas hero Chaldean, but he beats pretty smart horses like Karen, etc. He beats them hollow on deep, deep ground. I don't think it'll get this deep at Goodwood, but he was only just touched off in the French Guineas. He was a bit too keen over a mile in the St James's Palace. I have to like this horse's chance for a place, John.
I was seriously considering him on top, actually, until Kinross got stall 1, the absolutely perfect place for, you know, the proven performer at this level. But 7 furlongs for Isaac Shelby is ideal. Graham's touched upon the mile form, and I think the drop back is a really good idea, and I think he'll go very well. And looking up for a big run.
Keep a close eye on the weather. The more rain, the better for him, and there is some rain in the forecast.
Yeah, there is some rain, very much in the air. Let's start by looking at selections then, shall we? Graham, with you first.
Yeah, hard to desert Kinross here because he's got the class. We know he handles Goodwood beautifully, and we know he's going to get a good gallop runner. He's on top, ahead of Isaac. 4, 8, 3 and 1. Jumbie should run well at a price.
And John, for you?
Same Quinella for me, Kinross and Isaac Shelby, so that might be the way to go as far as that particular bet is concerned. I'm willing to be a bit more forgiving about audience in there for third. An Indestructible ran well in the Prix Jean Prat last time out. That was a good effort compared to some of the runs he has been producing of late. I think any softening of the ground will bring out the best in him. He might go well at a price.
OK, at a price, I'm going to put up Marban, who won the Vintage Stakes last year. Hopefully can bounce back at the track of his best success so far in race 5 on the card. Race 6 on the card is the feature race on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival. Is the Goodwood Cup over 3,200 metres, a proper stamina sapper. Let's have a look at the course map. It's going to be a little bit different from the other races on the card we've seen so far, starting on the far side of the track, going round that top bend and then coming up that steep hill to finish over the 3,200 metre trip. 11 going to post for this one. Group 1 contest: Broome, Coltrane, Courage Mon Ami, Elder Eldarov, Enemy, Giavolotto, Lone Eagle, Ocean Wind, Quickthorn, Tashkhan and Emily Dickinson. Right, let's start by looking at one of our visual clues, this time Courage Mon Ami. And Graham, this came before his finest hour at Goodwood last time.
What an amazing story. It's very unusual for a horse to get to the top of the staying tree in such a compressed space of time. But he's 4 from 4, he's by Frankel, he's got that Frankel power and hunger. And this is a much lesser race than Tuesday's Goodwood Cup. And John Gosden, his park trainer, said that he was up in the air for a bit, but to do this third start was notable, and to do what he did in the Ascot Gold Cup on his fourth start was tremendous, John.
Yeah, and it was a sort of stoppy-starty race, the Ascot Gold Cup, from a sectional perspective, and he was a long way off the speed, and he sliced through the field, and of course beat Coltrane in the process. No mean feat. So he's a horse whose upward curve is a very, very vertiginous one, and I think he's going to go well here again, no doubt about it.
Price is the potential concern. Franco Dettori, unbeaten son of Frankel, Gold Cup winner, he's bound to be tight in the market.
Yeah, certainly will be. And John, just on what Graham was saying about his unusual profile, it really is just the 4 starts, but being so talented at the top of that stage tree already.
I think he surprised virtually everybody, even Mr. Gosden and Mr. Dettori, by winning the Ascot Gold Cup. So, yeah, interesting back to the 2 miles, but as I say, he's got to go in.
And he's only got 3 parts of a length in hand on Coltrane, we should mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of Coltrane, let's have a look back at last year's renewal, Graham, and the first 3 not involved this year.
This was, I think, the best staying race in Europe last year, Tom. If you have a look at Kyprios, Stradivarius, Trushan, they were respectively rated 119, 118, 124. So this was a world-class race, and Coltrane was just getting good at this point, John. He had no excuses in 4th, didn't need any, but he's a better horse in 2023 than he was 12 months ago, I think.
I think he is, yeah, and he's very versatile as well. If it's a stamina test, he'll be fine. He's shown to himself to have a really good turn of foot if it gets tactical too. And yes, 3 of the top sprinter stayers of the last few years all involved here, who aren't involved on Tuesday afternoon, and he's miles clear of the 5th as well.
He did everything right, bar win at Royal Ascot, and the fact that he's so battle-hardened. And Courage Mon Ami has only had 4 races, and he's coming off the back of his first ever major battle. Might just tilt the scales in Coltrane's favour.
Yeah, could well do. One horse you saw in that video there was Kyprios, not running this year, but Aidan O'Brien is represented, this time by Emily Dickinson, Graham. What kind of a chance would you give her?
Major chance. She's on top for me. She has 1 or 2 quirks, and she got well behind when she ran at Goodwood 12 months ago, but she's a much better horse now. She ran really well on unsuitably fast ground in the Gold Cup. Here, that filly Ross Carberry, who hits the front on the bridle, is a good filly. Emily Dickinson guns her down and forges clear late on. I think this was her best performance yet. Aidan O'Brien's quotes are always beautifully evocative. He said Emily would give any good horse a hard time on that ground. She grows an extra leg when it's soft. It's already good to soft, could get a bit softer, in which case, turned out quickly, Emily Dickinson is a danger to them all in my book, John.
Yep, she's 1 from 1 over 2 miles. Graham referenced a really good run Goodwood last year over the 1.75 miles. She'll go very well. Ryan Moore aboard, definitely in the numbers.
I'm very interested to see what you both make of another formula we're going to look at now, this time from York, and Giavolotto eventually winning this, Graham, but in my opinion slightly below the form needed to win at Goodwood.
I think you might be right. We've got a handful of potential key players here. Look at that horse Elder Eldarov. He had a significant penalty for a St Leger win, so the fact that he could get so close. Quickthorn goes really well at York, and he sets them a target. Quickthorn now has his first run at Goodwood. I'm not certain it'll be ideal, but he's a very smart horse in the stripes. Elder Eldarov gets chopped for speed, then comes on strong. Giavolotto wins it, snaking to the left in the closing stages. What do you make of this, John? Because I think they're good horses, but I couldn't quite make any of them the winner of this.
Yeah, Giavolotto and Elder Eldarov, I'm not absolutely certain that Goodwood will suit given their run styles. I mean, this is a good effort from both, really, for the reasons that you've given. And obviously, Quickthorn is a very important horse in the race from a tactical perspective. I've swerved this form. It's good, but it might not be quite good enough.
Agreed.
OK, lovely stuff. Can't wait for this first Group 1 of the week. Difficult to try and work it out, but got two experts next to me trying to make it a little bit easier. Graham, starting with you with your selections.
Yeah, it's a belter. We've got some new kids on the block in terms of the top stayers. I'm going for Emily. Number 11, Emily Dickinson. I think she'll be really hard to keep out of the first three. 2, Coltrane, from a consistency point of view. 3, Courage Mon Ami. He's going to be a short price. Got to have him in on the short list. And 9, Quickthorn.
And John, yourself?
Yeah, I've got the same top three, slightly different order. Going to go with Coltrane on top. He's versatile, he loves Goodwood, and he won't have any of the big three that he encountered last year to worry about. Courage Mon Ami, obviously, for all the reasons given, there's not much between them. Emily Dickinson in for third. Graham has made a very good case for her. Broome was obviously probably not at his best over 2.5 in the Gold Cup last time, but he has got a very good run on his dance card over at Maiden, of course, over the 2 miles. I think he'll go quite nicely as well. Obviously, the O'Brien second string, but a very good second string.
Yeah, very much so. Can't wait for this one. I'm going to go with Courage Mon Ami. Got that winning Goodwood form already, and of course won the big one at Royal Ascot last time out. That is the feature race on the card. Race 7 on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival is a fiendishly competitive fillies handicap, this time over 1,600 metres. Let's have a look at the course map for this one then. And they start on the far side of the track, taking in one bend and then come up the hill to home from that 1,600 metre start. Declarations are as followed. 20 going to post here. Belhaven, System, Espresso, Brightstones, Baxidar, Stormy Sea, Choisir, Lady Alara, Good Gracious and Novus. And the second page as well. Royal Dress Roya, Floaty Spirits, Youngest, Susanna, She's Hot, Prince of Mine I should say, Wajindri, Lady Mojito and High Claire. Right, the first visual clue we're going to look at here, Graham, involves Novus.
Yeah, Novus is a progressive horse. Novus is a horse who goes really well at Goodwood, and Novus is a horse who handles easy ground very well indeed. She didn't travel all that well through the middle third of this race, John, but she did come home really strongly. It looks pretty solid form. I am not crazy about the 15 box. Gentlemen, would it interest you to know that in a massive field in this race last year, the principals were drawn 1, 6, 3, 4 and 5.
Yeah, and that can often be accentuated by softer ground as well. But Novus has lots of ticks in all the right boxes, and 3-year-olds will be dominant in this race as well. And of course, she is that. She ran really well in the Sandringham prior to this, so she's got plenty of positives. I've got her in the numbers, not quite on top.
I have a feeling that Ryan Moore was initially jocked up to ride for his dad Gary on Novus, but it looks as if a higher power has prevailed.
Indeed. John, that stat Graham was just saying about the stalls isn't going to help the chance of Rawaya, who looks pretty progressive so far.
She does, and yes, stall 18 is not great at all. The Sandown form that we can see was pretty good. She was quite well fancied on this occasion. She was pretty prominent in the run. If you go back further in her form history, she ran well at Beverley on a softer surface, and she also did well at Newmarket earlier on in the season at the Craven meeting, so no problems with the ground again. She's got a chance purely from a form perspective, but stall 18 somewhat puts me off.
How about this family? Baid, Hukum and Nashwan. So she's going to be an excellent broodmare prospect. She tries hard as well. You can see she puts her head down, bends it down low and battles on. The second horse has won a listed race. Pluses, pluses, pluses. 1 minus. She's way out west in 18, Tom.
Yeah, exactly right. The last visual clue we're going to look at is Stormy Sea. I hate to use this cliche about Sir Michael Stout's horses probably having plenty more to come as they get older, but I think this one could have plenty more, Graham.
This is the high authority I mentioned before. Sir Michael Stout has called in Ryan Moore for this filly. She is, Tom, as you know, a half-sister to Bay Bridge. A top-quality horse, and B, a very, very effective horse on softish ground. This form is good, John. The second, third and the fourth have all franked it, and she travels kindly and she whizzes clear in the spring at Haydock. She went up in class, wasn't disgraced at York on much faster ground, but after the break, with Ryan Moore booked and the inside draw, I have to think she might be a bit better than this handicap mark.
Yeah, she goes on top for me. Obviously, there's no concrete proof she handles this sort of surface, but as Graham said, the breeding suggests that she will. And stall 2, we've talked about fancied horses with bad draws. She's a fancied horse with a great draw.
I think SMS, Sir Michael Stout and Ryan Moore clicked in this race 12 months ago with Crystal Caprice, didn't they?
Yeah, very competitive race. This one, though, Graham. So your selections are going to be?
Definitely number 6, Stormy Sea on top. I think she has plenty more to give. 10, Novus, despite the high draw. I think she'll be coming home strongly. 5, Baxidar, who was unlucky in a listed race at Sandown last time. And 3, Espresso, who's just running really well in pretty good company at the moment.
And for you, John?
Yeah, I like Stormy Sea on top as well, and Nova, so again, the same cue for myself and Graham. Royal Dress, I want the rain for the golfers on the Monday as well, because she will need that. She goes very well on a really soft surface, and if she does, she'll be staying on while others have cried enough. And Bridestones, horse number 20 in the Godolphin Blue, might go quite well as well, but it's a tricky old race.
It certainly is, and despite what the gentleman next to me have said about the draw, I'm going to stick with Rawaya. She's very progressive and has that fine pedigree as well. That is the 7th race on the card. Race 8 is the final race on the opening day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival and is another fillies handicap, this time though over 1,200 metres. Let's have a look and see how the course map is shaping up for this one. Over that straight course, as with the first couple of races on the card for the 1,200 metre start. Declarations for this: 13 going to post. Funny Story, Kit Eye, Bonnie Angel, Candle of Hope, Glorious Angel, Sophia's Starlight, Mottisfont, Silent Words, Crazy Luck, Minnetonka, Executive Decision, Elvenia and Granary Queen, all lining up here. And talking of Mottisfont, Graham, I'm going to start by looking at a visual clue involving that one.
Yeah, 2 or 3 horses to look at here, and it's not just Mottisfont, who runs pretty well, never really lands a significant blow. She's 0 from 7 since her debut win. 4 1/4 lengths, 4 1/2 lengths she was beaten here. But have a look at the filly on the left, or third from the left at the moment, in the white colours. This is Sophia's Starlight. She runs really well for a long way. I think she paid a penalty for going with a pretty good pace. Prior to this, she'd been in great form, John. She's quick, aggressive, and she has stall 13, so she might get to the rail and run well at a big price, Sophia Starlight.
Yeah, I like her. I've got her on top, actually. She has to work to get into that prominent position as well, because she was awkwardly away, not something that normally happens with her, so I think this was a forgivable run. I think Goodwood will suit the draws pretty good as well, and not a problem with the ground, so Sophia Starlight for me, I like a lot.
OK, one horse that I like a lot in this race is Kit Eye, who is going from strength to strength of late. And last time at Pontefract, Graham, I thought she did really well.
She's been doing really well for a while, and she's a strong stayer, Tom. She showed that when she won at Carlisle, 2 starts back, on soft ground, pretty dominant. And this, likewise, was emphatic. Back to 6 furlongs on a stiff track. She's just going from strength to strength. The key question is, has the handicapper gradually got the measure of her? But other than that, she's in terrific form.
Yeah, I think she's a good bet on a straight track as well. She did get a very nice run here at Pontefract. She was beautifully positioned the whole time by Joe Fanning, but look how easily she wins. She really gallops away from them in the closing stages. So yeah, she goes in the numbers for me, definitely.
Lovely stuff. With that in mind, Kit Eye just crossing the line as we look in pretty isolated fashion. It's time to get some selections for this last race on the card. Graham, starting with you.
I think I might have found one here. Clive Cox, Bonnie Angel. She has a tongue tie for the first time after a break. She was 2 free behind subsequent Group 1 winner, dual Group 1 winner Shaquille on Guinea's Day. Horrible weather that day. Go back to Doncaster last September. She made some pretty handy fillies look second rate. So I think she might have been prepared with this in mind. 3 Bonnie Angel, 6 Sophia Starlight, more on her from John, 2 Kit Eye, banging form, and 4 Candle of Hope in the Royal colours.
Yeah, if Sophia Starlight can start better than she did at Newmarket last time, she'll be a force to be reckoned with here. Kit Eye in for second, so 6 and 2. Candle of Hope in the King's colours, horse number 4 in there for third. And Funny Story right at the top of the weight, I think should go quite well too, after some decent performances on softish ground in the past.
Lovely stuff. I'm going to go with Kit Eye. I'm a big fan of this horse. Hopefully she can progress once again and win the final race on the card.